So much comes to your mind after the feast, and sometimes you want to bring it right away, but sometimes, in my own mind anyway, I sometimes don't want to deliver it right away. I want to meditate on it and give it some time to sink in a different way than it sinks in right away. And what I brought back from the feast, I will deliver it next week or the week after that. And sometimes it's better that way. You get more out of it. You all will get more out of it. And you all have had some time to think about it in a different way than the emotive way that you experienced it. And what happened was this. I'd thought of it before and delivered it once before, and it didn't take. And this time, because it was a different set of people altogether, and I compared the old ones with the new notes and came up with something a little bit different, in my ways anyway. But a lot of ways, some things didn't change in the ensuing 10 years before the first time. And that's what I wanted to note. And it's too fresh in my mind now to get it right. And by next week or so, I'll get it right. But this time, in this Bible story from the book of Job, there is a wealthy man named Job residing in an area called Uz with his extended family and vast flocks. He is blameless and upright, constantly mindful to live in a righteous manner. This begins in Job, the first chapter, the first verse. Yahweh brags to Satan about Job's virtue. But Satan contends that Job is only righteous because Yahweh has favored him generously. Satan dares Yahweh that if given the approval to inflict suffering on Job, what does he think about other than that? He has to be. And the thing is, he wasn't hurt. He was the second in command at the time under Yahweh. Why was he inflicting so much pain on people? Hurt people hurt people. He wasn't hurt. This guy just must be evil. You gotta read between the lines sometimes to get the Bible completely. And that's one of the reasons that I take my time bringing these things forward. Every time you do it, you see something you didn't see last time. He has to be evil. But nothing happened in his time at the side of Yahweh. But Satan dares Yahweh that if given the approval to inflict suffering, Job will change and curse Yahweh. Yahweh permits Satan to abuse Job, to experiment with this brazen claim, but he forbids Satan to take Job's life in the matter. Start in Job, the first chapter, the first verse. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job. And that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared Yahweh and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. Whoa. His substance also was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen. That's 1,000, 2 to a yoke. And 500 she-mules, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed Yahweh in their hearts." Thus did Job continually, these prayers. Now there was a day when the sons of Yahweh came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came among them. And Yahweh said unto Satan, "Whence comest thou?" When Satan answered Yahweh and said, "From going to and fro in the earth, and walking up and down in it." And Yahweh said unto Satan, "Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is no one like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that fears Yahweh and eschews evil?" Then Satan answered Yahweh and said, "Does Job fear Yahweh for naught, for nothing? Has not you have made a hedge around him, about his house, and about all he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth your hand now, and touch all that he has, and he will curse you to your face." And Yahweh said unto Satan, "Behold, all that he has is in your power. Only upon himself put not forth your hand." So Satan went forth from the presence of Yahweh. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger from Job unto Job, and said, "The oxen were plowing, and the donkeys feeding beside them, and the Sabaeans fell upon them, and they took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell you." While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the fire of Yahweh is fallen from heaven and has burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them. And I only am escaped alone to tell you. While he was yet speaking, there came another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away. Yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword. The Chaldeans were the Babylonians. And I am escaped alone to tell you. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, your sons and your daughters were eating and drinking wine in their elder brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house. And it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I am only escaped alone to tell you. Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshiped. This is a different kind of man. This is a different kind of man that has this kind of a reaction to this kind of sad news. Verse 21, and said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. Yahweh gave, and Yahweh has taken away. Blessed be the name of Yahweh. In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged Yahweh foolishly. Over the time of one day, Job was given 4 reports, each informing him that his sheep, servants, and 10 children have all died due to thieving intruders or natural disasters. Job rips his clothes and shaves his head in sorrow, yet he still praises Yahweh in his prayers. Satan arrives again in heaven, and Yahweh allows him another opportunity to test Job. This time, Job is distressed with terrible skin sores. We continue in Job, the 2nd chapter, the 1st verse. Job, the 2nd chapter, the 1st verse. And there was a day when the sons of Yahweh came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them to present himself before Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto Satan, from whence come you? And Satan answered Yahweh and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down it. There was a arrogance to the way he put these words, and I can almost see him almost pimping and strutting in front of God while he did this. And Yahweh said unto Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one who fears Yahweh and eschews evil, and still he holds fast his integrity, although you moved me against him to destroy him without cause. And many don't understand it because they don't know the power of God. Yahweh. He could have taken everything he had, but the only way that he would allow someone else to do that, because he had the power to give it all back in a moment. And a lot of worldly people don't understand that. Why did he do it? The guy was already right. But he wasn't completely right, as you can see. We'll go on through this. And Satan answered Yahweh and said, "Put forth thine hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse you to your face." And Yahweh said unto Satan, "Behold, he is in your hand, but save his life." So went Satan forth from the presence of Yahweh, and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his feet unto his crown. And he took a potsherd, a shard from a pot, to scrape himself withal. And he said, down among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, and whose urging was this? You've seen it before. You know who it was. Then he said his wife unto him, "Do you still retain your integrity? Curse Yahweh and die." And he said unto her, "You speak as one of the foolish women." You speak as one of the foolish women speaks. What? What shall we receive? Good at the hand of Yahweh? And shall we not receive evil? In all this, did not Job sin once with his lips? His wife urges him to denounce Yahweh and to give up and die. But Job protests, trying to endure his infliction. Undoubtedly, this wording by the wife was urged on by Satan the devil, as it was with Eve. 3 of Job's companions, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, arrived to comfort him. You could call it that, if you could call it that. Sitting with Job in silence for 7 days, out of reverence for his grieving. On the 7th day, Job talks, starting a discussion in which each of the 4 men shares his reflections on Job's troubles in poetic descriptions. We learned about some of this during the feast, the poetic parts of the Bible. Job damns the day he was born, relating life and death to light and darkness. He hopes that his birth had been obscured in darkness, and desires to have never been born, believing that life only increases his suffering. Eliphaz replies that Job, who has comforted other people, now reveals that he never actually knew their pain. What's that have to do with anything? Eliphaz concludes that Job's pain must be due to some sin Job has acted, and he recommends Job to seek Yahweh's favor. Bildad and Zophar agree that Job must have performed some evil to provoke Yahweh's justice and argued that he should attempt to manifest more innocent behavior. Bildad supposes that Job's children brought their deaths upon themselves. When people start talking, they shouldn't do that if they don't know what they're talking about. Digging holes for others, dig you one for yourself too. You've heard that one. I won't try my mind to get it. It's up there somewhere, but it'll take 5 minutes to bring it forth. Even worse, Zophar suggests that whatever wrongdoing Job has done, he likely deserves more suffering than what he has experienced. With friends like these, who needs enemies? Job reacts to each of their remarks, becoming so angry that he calls his sympathizers worthless physicians. Along with all this, they had a pandemic back then too. He calls his sympathizers worthless physicians who whitewash their help with lies. This is in Job 16, 1 through 4, if you want to go through that. He questions why Yahweh judges people by their deeds, if Yahweh can just as easily change or forgive their behavior. It is confusing to Job how a human can truly satisfy Yahweh's justice, as his ways are mysterious and exceeding human comprehension. Furthermore, humans cannot possibly convince Yahweh with their words. Yahweh cannot be fooled. And Job confesses that he does not even know himself well enough to adequately defend his case to Yahweh. Job desires for someone who can mediate between himself and Yahweh, or be sent to Sheol, the dark place of the dead. Job believes that there is a witness or a redeemer in heaven who will testify for his integrity. Job, the 16th chapter, the 19th verse. Job, the 16th chapter, the 19th verse. Also now, behold, my witness is in heaven, and my record is on high. Job, the 19th chapter, the 25th verse. Job, the 19th chapter, the 25th verse. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. The suffering shows too much for Job, and he turns bitter, anxious, and scared. He deplores the injustice that Yahweh lets evil people thrive, while he and many other honest people suffer. Job wants to face Yahweh and protest, but he cannot physically find Yahweh. He assumes that wisdom is concealed from humans, but he decides to persevere in seeking wisdom by fearing Yahweh and evading evil. Job isn't quite satisfied with that explanation. Just in the nick of time, Elihu pops in to to tell Job that he may not have sinned, but he still has no right to question his fate. Continuing in Job, the 37th verse, 37th chapter, and the first verse. Job, the 37th chapter, and the first verse. At this also my heart trembles and is moved out of its place. Hear attentively the noise of his voice and the sound that goes out of his mouth. He directs under the whole heaven, and his lightning unto the ends of the earth. After it a voice roars, he thunders with the voice of his excellency, and he will not stay them when his voice is heard. Yahweh thunders marvelously with his voice. Great things does he, which we cannot comprehend. For he says to the snow, be thou on the earth. Otherwise, to the small rain, and to the great rain of his strength. He seals up the hand of every man, that all men may know his work. Then the beasts go into dens and remain in their places. Out of the south comes the whirlwind, and comes out of the north. And the breath of Yahweh, frost is given. By the breath of Yahweh, frost is given. And the breath of the waters is straightened. Also, by watering, he wearieth the thick cloud. He scatters it, his bright cloud, and it is turned round about by his counsels, that they may do whatever he commands them upon the face of the world and the earth. He causes it to come, whether for correction or for his land or for mercy. Hearken unto this, O Job. Stand still and consider the wondrous works of Yahweh. Do you know when Yahweh disposed them and caused the light of his cloud to shine? Do you know the balancing of the clouds, the wondrous works of him which is perfect in knowledge? How your garments are warm when he quiets the sky, the earth by the south wind. Have you with him spread out the sky, which is strong and as a molten looking glass? Teach us what we shall say unto him, for we cannot order our speech by reason of darkness. Shall it be told him that I speak? If a man speak, surely he shall be swallowed up. And now men see not the bright light which is in the clouds, but the wind passes and cleanses them. Fair weather comes out of the north with Yahweh's terrible majesty. touching the Almighty, we cannot find him out. He is excellent in power and in judgment and in plenty of justice. He will not afflict. Men do therefore fear him. He respects not any that are wise of heart. After all, Yahweh's universe is still endowed with immortal power. Bottom line, suck it up, bro. And if Yahweh would call, what would you say? And Bible always answers its own questions. Job, the 38th chapter, the first verse. Job, 38th chapter, the first verse. Then Yahweh answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now your loins like a man, for I will demand of you, and answer you me. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding, if you have understanding. Who has laid the measures thereof, if you know? Or who has stretched out the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together at the sight of it, and all the sons of Yahweh shouted for joy at the sight of it, the mere sight of it. Verse 8, or who shut up the sea with doors when it broke forth, as it had issued out of the womb? When I made the cloud the garment thereof, and thick darkness a swaddling band for it, and broke up for it my decreed place, and set bars and doors, and said, hitherto shall you come, but no further. And here shall your proud waves be stayed. Have you commanded the morning since your days, and caused the day spring to know his place, the start of the day? 13, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked might be shaken out of. Remember all the things that happened over the years that we don't pretend to claim where it came from. All these hurricanes and so forth. Anybody that really reads the Bible, none of these weather disasters came until the canopy was taken down. And at that point, that was done for sin. And anything that came about after that came from our sin. Verse 14. It is turned as clay to the seal, and they stand as a garment. And from the wicked their light is withholden, and the high arm shall be broken. Have you entered into the springs of the sea, and have you walked in the search of the depth? Probably not without a wetsuit and an air tank. But these hadn't been invented yet. I assume not. Verse 17. Have the gates of death been opened unto you? Or have you seen the doors of the shadow of death? Have you perceived the breath of the earth? Declare if you know it all. Where is the way that where light dwells? And as for darkness, where is the place thereof? That you shall take it to the bound thereof. And that you should know the paths to the house thereof. Know you it because you weren't born. You weren't born then. Because the numbers of your days is great. Have you entered the treasures of the snow? Or have you seen the treasures of the hail, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war? 24. By which way is the light parted, which scatters the east wind upon the earth? Who has divided a water course for the overflowing of waters, or a few, or a way for the lightning of thunder, to cause it to rain on the earth where no man is, on the wilderness wherein there is no man, to satisfy the desolate waste ground, and to cause the bud of the tender herb. These herbs to spring forth. Has the rain a father? Or who has begotten the drops of dew? Out of whose womb came the ice and the hoary frost of heaven? Who has gendered it? The waters are hid as with a stone, and the faces of the deep is frozen. Can you bind the sweet influences of the Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? Can you bring forth Mazzaroth in his season? Mazzaroth is a biblical word, Hebrew word, found in the book of Job, and literally meaning a garland of crowns. But its context is that of astronomical constellations in the ring, in the shape of a ring of crowns in the sky. Or can you guide Arcturus with his sons? That's what he's talking about. Know you the ordinances of heaven? Can you set the dominion thereof in the earth? Can you lift up your voice to the clouds, that abundance of waters may cover you? Can you send lightnings that they may go forth and say unto you, here we are? Who has put wisdom in the inward parts? Or who has given understanding to the heart? Who can number the clouds in wisdom? Or who can stay the bottles of heaven? When the dust grows into hardness and the clouds cleave fast together. Will you hunt the prey for the lion, or fill the appetite of the young lions? When they crouch in their dens and abide in the covert to lie in wait? Who provides for the raven his food when his young ones cry unto Yahweh? They wander for lack of meat. Overcome by the appearance of Yahweh, Job recognizes Yahweh's infinite power and accepts the constraints of his human understanding. Job, the 40th chapter, the 3rd verse. And Job answered Yahweh and said, verse 4, Behold, I am vile. What shall I answer you? I will lay mine hand upon my mouth. Verse 5. Once have I spoken, but I will not answer, yea, twice, but I will proceed no further. This response pleases Yahweh, but he is upset with Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar for emitting and permitting themselves such lousy advice. Job reconciles on their behalf. Job, the 42nd chapter, the 1st verse. Job, the 42nd chapter, the 1st verse. Then Job answered Yahweh and said, I know that you can do everything, and that no thought can be beholden from you. Who is he that hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore have I uttered that I understood not, things too wonderful for me, which I knew not. Here I beseech you, and I will speak. I will demand of you, and declare you unto me. Have I heard of you by the hearing of the ear? By now mine eye sees you. Wherefore I abhor myself, and repent in dust and ashes. And it was so that after Yahweh had spoken these words unto Job, Yahweh said to Eliphaz the Temanite, My wrath is kindled against you and against your two friends, for you have not spoken of me the right thing, the thing that is right, as my servant Job has. Therefore take unto you now 7 bullocks and 7 rams, and go to my servant Job, and offer up for yourselves a burnt offering. And my servant Job shall pray for you. For will I accept, lest I deal with you after your folly, in that you have not spoken of me the thing which is right, like my servant Job. So Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamite went and did according as Yahweh commanded them. Yahweh also accepted Job, and Yahweh turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. And also Yahweh gave Job twice as much as he had before. Then came there unto him all his brethren and all his sisters, and all they that had been of his acquaintance before, and did eat bread with him in his house. And they bemoaned him and comforted him over and over at all the evil that Yahweh had brought upon him. Every man also gave him a piece of money, and every one an earring of gold. So Yahweh blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning. For he had 14,000 sheep, and 6,000 camels, and 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 she-mules. And he had also 7 sons and 3 daughters. And he called the name of the first Jemima, and the name of the second Keisha, and the name of the third Curran-Hapuk. And in all the land were no women found so fair as the daughters of Job. And their father gave them inheritance among their brethren. After this lived Job 140 years, and saw his sons and his sons' sons, even 4 generations. So Job died, being old and full of days. Any questions? Thurman?
I got a question, Pastor. Did Yahweh rebuke Elihu? I know he rebuked the other 3, but what about Elihu?
Not here, he doesn't.
Not that we know of, right?
Not that I know of. He was the only one that just stated facts. He didn't say anything about it as to what or why. And in my eyes, that there was nothing that he said that warranted the kind of punishment that the others did.
He was the young one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was he the one that was the youngest? Like, basically, may I speak up, or
Mm-hmm.
may I?
Yeah.
He was fairly polite, I think, from what I.
Mm-hmm. But he wasn't speaking with much authority either, but taking into account his youth, God apparently did also. Any others? Other comments? That's it for me.